From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Millicent Walker.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Senate throws spanners in the works for the amendment of the Electoral Act 2022 as members reject moves to remove Section 84, subsection 12 of the law. Nigerian Bar Association condemns Governor Dave Umahi's statement on Federal High Court judgment sacking him and others, even as he appeals court decision. No end in sight to the federal government's Academic Staff Union of Universities face-off. Federal Executive Council faults ASU's UTAS payment platform. And Russian invasion of Ukraine escalates as Children's Hospital in Mariupol destroyed in Russian airstrikes. Plus, more from our London studios and around the world in 5.
On business news tonight, organized private sector warns of further hike in commodity prices and services in the country due to rising cost of petroleum products above pump price.
On sports news tonight, Nigeria's under-20 girls, the Falconets, arrive in Dakar ahead of their 2022 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup final round game with Senegal this weekend.
From the nation's capital, women groups continue siege at the National Assembly as they push for equal consideration for all 5 gender-based bills by both the Senate and House of Representatives.
Appointed political office holders who desire to contest in elections from party primary level without resigning their positions may now begin to consider other options to achieve their ambition. This is because the Senate has thrown out the request of the President to amend Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022, which prevents them from contesting elections while holding on to their offices. President Buhari had written to the National Assembly seeking amendment to the Act to pave way for political office holders to serve as delegates during party conventions.
It's the midweek plenary session in the Senate, and the federal lawmakers have just commenced the process of amending the 2022 Electoral Act. The Senate has taken this step 2 days after the Federal High Court in Abuja had restrained the National Assembly from making any amendment to the Act. This move causes mixed reaction in the Senate. After the Senate leader, Senator Yahya Abdullahi, gave the lead debate for the second reading of the bill, senators kicked against it.
Anywhere else in the world where democracy is properly practiced, like in Nigeria, we don't need to be told that if we want to run for office and we are appointed into an office, that we have to resign. That is a sine qua non that we don't even need to debate. Yet, here we are today in Nigeria, and people think that they can sit in an office and contest an election.
Amidst opposition, the Deputy Senate President argues for the amendment to be considered.
That no political party shall seek to disqualify anybody by importing into the process a provision for qualification or disqualification not otherwise provided for in the Constitution. It is there at the beginning. I believe that's Section 84, Section 84(2). Mr. President, Mr. President, I therefore rise to support the motion as moved by the Senate leader, that we allow this very bill to go to second reading.
And when the President of the Senate puts the bill to vote,
that this bill be now read a second time. Say aye. Those against say nay. No, I'm not putting the question again because I put the question. There was an aye and there were nays. And I said the nays had it.
this vote may have effectively put an end to President Buhari's plan to review Section 84, subsection 12 of the Act, as the House of Representatives is yet to consider the bill.
Away from the Senate, Governor David Umahi of Ebonyi State and his deputy, Mr. Kelechi Igwe, have appealed the Federal High Court ruling which ordered their removal from office. According to their notice of appeal filed at the Abuja Judicial Division of the Appellate Court, they disagreed with the entire judgment of the lower court sacking them for defecting to the All Progressives Congress from the People's Democratic Party. In the appeal documents, Mr. Umahi argues that the trial court virtually set aside the Supreme Court's decision in the case involving the Attorney General of the Federation and former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to the effect that there is no constitutional provision prohibiting the President or Vice President and invariably the Governor or Deputy Governor from defecting to another political party. He therefore asked the Appellate Court to set aside the judgment of the Federal High Court. Meanwhile, Governor Umahi has expressed confidence in the ability of the Nigerian judiciary to dispense justice in the matter regarding his sack from office following his appeal of the court judgment. Addressing APC supporters who thronged the Udensi roundabout in the state capital, Abakaliki, to show their solidarity, Governor Umahi urges the people to remain peaceful and law-abiding.
Abakaliki, the Ebonyi state capital, comes alive as thousands of APC supporters troop out in their numbers to show support for the Ebonyi state governor David Umahi following Tuesday's Abuja High Court judgment removing him and his deputy from office. The Solidarity March at the popular Udensi roundabout in the state capital brings together party faithful from across the state. The Deputy Governor, Kelechi Igwe, addresses the crowd, restating the people's support for the Governor Umahi-led administration.
They consider the announcement some of them had yesterday as a travesty, which must be corrected. Said to me that this is a distraction that should just be ignored. That by your nature and your person, they know you will not be interested in responding to what is happening, that they have come to give you assurance that come rain, come shine, as your subjects, they are with you. Come rain, come shine, morning, afternoon, and night.
Addressing his supporters, Governor Umahi urges them to remain peaceful, warning the opposition PDP against any unlawful activity while expressing confidence in the Nigerian judiciary.
This is another level. Do not be angry about the judgment. Say thank you to PDP. It is a joke that has been carried very far. And today we will say to PDP in Ebonyi State, enough is enough. Enough is enough. Anybody that goes against the law of Ebonyi State, we get it very hot from today. I'm just here to say two things to you. One is to be very peaceful. Number two is to assure you that we have still very serious confidence in the judiciary.
With the governor and his deputy approaching the appeal court with the aim of reversing the judgment of the Federal High Court, the coming days promise a display of legal fireworks by parties in the case.
And more reactions, this time from the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, which has condemned in strong terms Governor Umahi's comment following Tuesday's court judgment. In a statement by the association's president, Mr. Olumide Akpata, the NBA frowned on the language of the governor, describing it as uncomplimentary and a national embarrassment. According to the NBA, Governor Umahi threw caution to the wind and deployed very uncomplimentary adjectives and intemperate language in characterizing both the judgment and Honorable Justice Ekwo, including but not limited to describing the judgment as jungle justice and his lordship as a hatchet man. The body of lawyers demanded an immediate apology from the governor and a retraction of the comments against the person and judgment of Honorable Justice Ekwo of the Federal High Court. Away from the court judgment. As the strike by university lecturers lingers, the federal government says it is waiting for the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, to upgrade the university's Transparency Accountability Solution, UTAS, after the platform failed series of integrity tests. The Director General of the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, Mr. Kashifu Inua, promised a review of the platform. Our State House correspondent, Gloria Mizoke, brings us details of this and other matters discussed at today's Federal Executive Council meeting.
The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, presides over the Federal Executive Council meeting days after the President departed to London for medical checks. After the closed-door meeting, salient issues bordering on the ongoing strike embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of Universities and the university's Transparency Accountability Solution, UTAS, payment platform came to the fore. The UTAS payment platform is among ASU's demands which led to the commencement of an ongoing strike.
As we speak now, ASU are reworking, trying to fix all the issues we highlighted with the system, and we'll review it again. But that is just one half of the story. The second half of the story also, we need to find where to put that system. Like IPPIS, we have a data center built for it. ASU, where are we going to put it? That means we need to have the data center, and also that data center we need to check to make sure it meets minimum requirement. Because if you put people's information and the system crashes, how can you pay them salary?
The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity in the Office of the Vice President, Mr. Laulu Akonde, on behalf of the Group Managing Director of the NNPC Limited, Milikiari, gave an update on the current field situation.
He informed the Council that there is enough stock, I think about 1.9 billion liters that is available, enough to last for 32 days. He also said that the agency is working 24 hours. There's a 24-hour loading that is going on at all depots across the country, working with DSS, MOAN, DPM, and IPMAN to ensure that this situation improves significantly.
The Federal Executive Council equally approved a memo which ensures the promotion of agribusiness and bans foreigners from purchasing agricultural produce directly from farmers to eliminate exploitation of local farmers.
It's two-pronged. Number one, the farmers are not cheated. We have to protect our farmers, because if the farmers are not making enough money, they'll leave the farm and go and look for something else to do. So we cannot afford that. So we want to make sure that they have the incentive to continue farming by getting the right price for their goods.
The approval by Council also ensures that trade is utilized as an alternative revenue spinner outside oil. From the Presidential Villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
In other stories, the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC, is engaging representatives of state government on how to deepen ease of doing business at the subnational level. This is coming ahead of the country's second Ease of Doing Business report, which is expected by the end of the second quarter of this year.
The Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC, is hosting state champions on the ease of doing business at this workshop in Abuja to peer learn and deepen reforms that promote the ease of doing business at the subnationals.
You put everything in it.
To get started, facilitators share their experiences on how PEBEC is able to drive reforms at the federal level.
When the council was inaugurated, there was no representative of the National Assembly on the council. And so when reforms were being carried out and it was important that those reforms were institutionalized, that collaboration was deemed very necessary. And so that was when we now had a serving senator come on board as a representative of the National Assembly at the time. And through that collaboration, 2 bills which related to doing business were passed.
Accountability is key, and that's why you need to carry the public along and the key stakeholders that benefit from the reforms. And then there's the tracking and feedback. Monitoring and evaluation is very important. So you need to develop and roll out monitoring and evaluation plans for all the reform interventions.
The workshop, which is part of preparations for the second PEBEC report on the ease of doing business, also exposes participants to new strategies on reforms communication.
It's a collaborative workshop where we're going to talk and peer learn. So the Ease of Doing Business report for Nigeria, the second iteration will be coming out in Q2 of this year. So this is part of our preparation as states. If you feel you're working, but the states don't know, or the businesses don't know that you're working, then there's a problem. So we're also talking about strategies to make sure that the reforms are properly communicated.
For the next 2 days, participants hope to learn from each other's experiences to drive the needed reforms in their respective states for the ease of doing business.
I think what we're going to take home for Kaduna State, is to continue to understand that there's a feedback mechanism from citizens, right, and society and the business community especially. Continue to strengthen our aftercare services, increase our IGR, and to also, sustain all the economic reforms we're doing in the state. So that's what we're going to take home.
Created in 2016, the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC, has helped to remove several bottlenecks impeding the growth of small businesses in the country.
In part two, after the break, House of Representatives demand justice for Bami Shay, lady killed after boarding a BRT bus in Lagos. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Senate throws out request by President Buhari for the removal of Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act. Nigerian Bar Association condemns Governor Dave Umahi's statement on Federal High Court judgment sacking him and others, even as he appeals court decision. Federal government, Academic Staff Union of Universities disagreement rages as Federal Executive Council faults ASU's UTAS payment platform. And Russian invasion of Ukraine escalates as Children's Hospital in Mariupol destroyed in Russian airstrikes. The death of 22-year-old Bami Shay, the young lady who was kidnapped and killed after boarding a BRT bus in Lagos, continues to generate reactions, and this time the House of Representatives is calling for justice in the case. This follows a motion of urgent public importance by the minority leader Ndudi Elumelu on the incessant attacks on women and girls across the country. They want the perpetrators to be brought to book speedily, as lawmakers also observed a minute of silence in her honor. And against the background of recent incidents of attacks on young persons and children, the National Association of Women Judges has pledged to ensure speedier dispensation of justice on cases placed before the courts. The leadership of the association stated this in Lagos when it met to sensitize the state governments, the leadership of the state judiciary and the press as part of activities lined up to celebrate the International Day of Women Judges on March the 10th. Our judiciary correspondent, Shola Shirele, reports.
The leadership of the National Association of Women Judges of Nigeria are in Lagos to celebrate the International Day of Women Judges, traditionally celebrated the world over every 10th day of March. With 45 female judges, the Lagos State Judiciary has the enviable record of having the largest number of 7 female judges in the country. And this is one of many reasons the state is hosting the first edition of the International Day of Women Judges. The women judges are using this celebration to discuss and place on the front burner issues surrounding the effectiveness of the Child Rights Act, as well as the difficulties and challenges that they have identified in the investigation and prosecution of sexual assault and cases of rape in our courts.
Where there are laws to protect children and enforce their rights, we believe that the time has come to proactively and stringently enforce those laws. This will ensure that our children, who are the future of this nation, are protected from both predators and any failures on the parts of parents, guardians, teachers, and the system in general.
To backwards with action, the women judges sought the buy-in of critical stakeholders by paying a visit to the Chief Judge of Lagos and the state government.
And we're hoping that the conversations, the discussions, the deliberations, the interactions that will come out of it will further deepen the judiciary, not only in Lagos, but in the country.
Other activities lined up to celebrate the International Day of Women Judges includes a symposium expected to bring together female judges from all parts of the country, other justice sector stakeholders relevant in their quest to ensure the protection of all citizens, particularly women and children. Shola Shuyeli, Channels Television News.
We'll now take you to Abuja, where Terry Kumi has some more stories. Hello, Terry. It appears we're still celebrating women, aren't we?
Oh, yes, we are, Millicent. And our next story still focuses on the women. Now, despite the decision of the House of Representatives on the rescission of 3 gender bills in the Constitution Amendments process, some women who have been protesting the action are still demanding that all 5 bills be accepted by both the House of Representatives and the Senate. The women made their demands known during the second day of protest staged at the gates of the National Assembly, where they restated their resolve to vote out the lawmakers who voted against the bills come 2023. Our correspondent Kayla Megua has been following the protests and brings us this report.
Another round of protests at the locked gates of the National Assembly by Nigerian women. Both chambers of the National Assembly had voted against constitution bills to provide for 35% affirmative action for women in political party administration, provide a minimum of 35% for women in ministerial and commissioner positions, special seats for women in the national and state houses of assembly, allowing women to take up indigenship of their husband's states after 5 years, as well as allow foreign men take up citizenship of their Nigerian wives. The women had been protesting since these decisions were made, and now the House of Representatives has decided to revisit 3 of those bills. Those to be revisited are Bill 36, to expand the scope of citizenship by registration, Bill 37, to provide for affirmative action for women in political party administration, and Bill 38, to provide criteria for qualification to become an indigene of a state in Nigeria. However, the women protesters are not satisfied.
What we are asking for is 5 over 5. We are not taking 3 over 5. We are not taking 4 over 5. What we are asking for is 5 over 5. That is why we are still on this ground.
When they are counting women vote, they don't say it is half. They call it 1. They will count man on 1. They will count woman on 1. When they come to the National Assembly, they will say women are not equal.
The women make their demands clear.
We demand that the National Assembly should urgently reconvene and reconsider the immediate passage of all the 5 gender bills. We are still standing on that. No retreat.
No surrender.
No retreat.
No surrender.
The women protesters are just coming back from their solidarity march right here at the National Assembly gates in Abuja, and they are very encouraged by the fact that the protest so far has been able to ensure that the House of Representatives take a look at a few of the bills that were dropped. Well, they say they want more. They want 5 over 5 at the House of Representatives and at the Senate, and they say they will continue to pick at the gates of the National Assembly until this is done. From the gates of the National Assembly in Abuja, Kayla Megua, Channels Television News.
Well, Nigerian women are still largely underrepresented at all levels of government, despite making up at least half of the electorate. Worse still, 5 gender-based bills which were expected to, among others, address the issue of women representation in politics and governance recently failed in the National Assembly, prompting protests by women groups in Abuja. In this report, our correspondent Linda Akigbe examines the struggle for the participation of women in politics and governance.
The disappointed wife of Nigeria's Vice President, Mrs. Dolapo Osinbajo, leaving the National Assembly on March 1st after all gender bills failed in the Constitution Amendment votes. The bills were expected to address issues of poor representation of women in politics and governance, as well as women's identity as citizens of Nigeria.
That is why every woman, every man, every child, every family, and every nation on this planet.
In September 1995, governments from around the world converged on Beijing, China, and agreed on a comprehensive plan to achieve global legal equality known as the Beijing Platform for Action. Two strategic objectives were identified during the conference to confront the challenge of the underrepresentation of women in government and different institutions. Although Nigerian women make up at least half of the electorate, women are still underrepresented in politics and governance. There has not been a female Nigerian president, neither an elected female governor.
Nigerian women!
A quick look at the representation of women in the federal legislature since the return to democracy in 1999 shows that there have never been more than 9 female senators out of 109 lawmakers and more than 26 women out of 360 lawmakers in the House of Representatives.
We are not making progress because 2015, I know we had a whole lot of women in the National Assembly. 2020, immediately we left 2015 to 2019, we have a whole lot of women, but from 2019, they reduced drastically.
This is the first time many people are even getting to know that in the constitution of this country, Nigerian women do not have citizenship rights, the same citizenship rights as men do.
Women face a number of challenges that affect their ability to participate in political life and become political leaders. However, certain measures need to be explored to increase women's participation in government at all levels.
Let women stand up. Let women vie for various positions. And as they come out, let the women stand by their fellow women and vote for them. That's the way forward. Women need to be empowered also, because politics of today, money counts.
First of all, it is our responsibility as men to work to break the bias, to try to create, to reduce the gap between the appointment level and the elective position for women. So if men are not doing that, and women have been supportive to men supportive over the years, that means there's no balance.
The 2023 general election is a year away, and it offers another opportunity for government at all levels, the legislature as well as political parties, to break down the structural barriers limiting a more robust participation of women in politics and governance. Linda Akigbe, Channels Television News.
Well, still on the women, as activities marking this year's International Women's Day continue, First Bank Nigeria Limited is restating its commitments to promoting gender equality in Nigeria, both in the workplace and outside. To demonstrate this, the bank has organized a one-day event in Abuja, where the Executive Director of Public Sector, First Bank Nigeria Limited, Mr. Abdullahi Ibrahim, says the bank has a wide range of products and services to empower women and provide access to more financing for their businesses.
It's celebration time as First Bank Nigeria Limited marks the International Women's Day in a grandiose style. The event is part of the First Bank Women's Network, an initiative that seeks to advance the cause of women. Top management staff of the bank are in attendance. It's an event designed to promote gender equality, and the Executive Director, Public Sector, First Bank Nigeria Limited, Mr. Abdullahi Ibrahim, highlights some of the products of the bank targeted at empowering women.
interest you to note that out of the $100 million financing facility received from the CDC group, a minimum of $30 million will be allocated in the form of credit lines to women entrepreneurs, which will help promote gender inclusion by improving lending and support to female entrepreneurs. Additionally, we have recently launched a First Gem Fund scheme, which is a single-digit loan facility for women-owned or led businesses.
He also says the bank provides opportunities for career development for women.
At First Bank, we have consistently demonstrated our commitment to gender equality and empowering women as reflected in the appointment of women to senior management roles. I'm proud to say these women have been excellent in those roles.
Although the event is meant to be a special day for women, it is also being attended by men who believe in gender equality and canvass for women's inclusion in governance. Being Nigeria's foremost bank, First Bank Nigeria Limited hopes to create a world that gives women equal opportunities as the men to be who they want to be.
To politics now, the ball is now in the court of the leadership of the All Progressives Congress in southern Nigeria to produce the party's presidential candidate ahead of the 2023 elections. That's according to the governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, while explaining the zoning of the party chairmanship position ahead of its national convention later this month. Mr. El-Rufai also put paid to speculation on the fate of the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress Caretaker Committee, Governor Mai Malabuni. Mr. El-Rufai was speaking on our program, Politics Today.
In the constitution of our party, there is a provision that says where the national chairman of the party is from the north, the president must be from the south.
Must. That's
Yes.
what the constitution says.
That's what's in the constitution.
Shall or
the chairman and the president cannot come from the same zone.
So you
and
can't
zone
have
here,
a North Central presidential candidate in APC now?
No. The zone, the definition of zone in our party constitution is north-south, not the northwest, northeast, north central.
Not subzoning.
Okay? What we know now, based on this zoning, is that the expectation is that our presidential candidate will come from somewhere in the south. It's up to the southern caucus of the APC to now produce and to propose to us an acceptable candidate.
So that's the possibility.
That's the broad possibility.
As is the president aware of this too?
That's what's in the constitution. Okay. He said, look, Governor Abu Sani Bello must take over on Monday.
That was what the president said?
Yes, he said he must take over and we should use whatever legal means necessary to make sure that this convention is delivered.
That was the president's order?
It was the president's order to us as governors. He said, I'm relying on you to do what is necessary, legally necessary, vacate this order. Abu Sani Bello takes over the leadership of the party, reconstitute all the committees of the convention, and ensure that the 26th of March date is sacrosanct.
So Governor Bello has President Buhari's backing?
He has the president's full backing and the backing of at least 19 of the 23 APC governors and deputy governors. What I'm telling you are the facts, and this is the situation. And since Monday, when Governor Abu Sani Bello took over, you can see we have made substantial progress. Convention subcommittees have been formed. They have been sworn in today. They have been reconstituted because the convention subcommittees formed by the earlier leadership had 1,700 members, which is half of the capacity of Eagle Square. It's a recipe for confusion, but now we have compact convention subcommittees. They have been sworn in and they are working, and now we are more confident than ever, that the convention will take place.
Well, that's all from the nation's capital. Millicent, back to you.
Thank you, Terry. And we continue here in Lagos with security. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali-Baba, has been speaking on the efforts by authorities to enhance police operations through the provision of basic operational tools to combat insecurity. The IGP explained that repair works are already ongoing at police colleges and barracks across the country to upgrade the facilities. He was speaking after an inspection of police cooperative projects in Ikeja, Lagos.
We are doing our best to see what we can do. Our welfare, we want to see that there is improvement in condition of service and so that people can give commitment and dedication to the job. And we are also procuring a lot of tools that will aid us in our operations. If you have gone into the police college, you have seen you will see where we have started renovating the barracks. So also we are also coming to do the ones that are belonging to the command. There are completing demands everywhere, and the resources are scarce. So we are trying to distribute what we have to take care of places one after the other. So
Other stories. The ambassador of France to Nigeria, Mr. Emmanuel Blattmanang, has paid a courtesy visit to the governor of Kano State, Abdullahi Ganduje, where he emphasized the need for the state and France to work together. Governor Ganduje described the visit as a fruitful one, as it will further boost the existing cordial relationship with the French indigents in the state. He stressed the need for the French language to be taught in schools, as that will also enhance opportunities on the international scene.
100 French companies, they employ 10,000 Nigerians in Nigeria. So they're a big employer, and they contribute also to the vocational training and do a lot of investments here. And actually, you often think that in the French-speaking countries are the ones that receive the most foreign investments, but it's not true. In Nigeria, the French direct investments over the last years, and the stock is more than 10 billion euros.
We have identified areas of traffic congestion. We have redesigned the interchanges. We have started constructing flyovers, underpasses, in order to reduce traffic congestion in the city. And also, we are introducing mass transit system. We purchase 100 vehicles, mega vehicles, and the private sector is coming in. But we need your assistance in this direction, because we have done it well in Lagos and Kaduna, to improve the parking areas, the lay-by, so that the transport system, the mass transit system, will flow efficiently.
That's actually the Kano State Governor speaking with Ms. Emmanuel Blattmanang, Ambassador of France to Nigeria. Let's bring you some business news now. Here's Anne Nwaudo.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. Members of the organized private sector have raised concerns over the impact of the soaring cost of petrol products above pump price on production in Nigeria. The Director General of MAN, Mr. Segun Ajayi Kadir, says transportation of goods and cost of logistics is already being affected as manufacturers grapple with the high energy prices, especially diesel, which has climbed to more than 600 naira per litre. Also, the Director General of the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, Ayo Olukani, says that rising energy cost remains the biggest challenge confronting Nigerian businesses, as most industries rely heavily on generators due to irregular power supply in the country. On his part, the Chief Executive Officer of the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, Dr. Muda Yusuf, linked the rising energy costs to the Russia-Ukraine war, which may aggravate Nigeria's economic situation. And as the world continues to battle the outcomes and tensions between Russia and Ukraine, and as that affects global supply of energy, the Secretary General of OPEC, Mr. Mohammed Barkindo, has called on global leaders and investors and heads of governments not to politicize energy. The Secretary General, while speaking exclusively to Channels Television on the sidelines of the ongoing energy conference in Houston, Texas, says the demand for oil and the challenge for the shortfall in supply could be further exacerbated if political solutions are not quickly put in place.
We are already facing real obstacles to access investment capital in this industry, especially in our own part of the world. We should not further complicate the situation. It is not in the interest of anyone to politicize energy. It is not in the interest of anyone to worsen the energy poverty profile of the world. Nearly 800 million people have no access to electricity, most in our own part of the world. Nearly 2.8 billion people have no access to clean cooking fuels, more than 80% in our own part of the world. Because of massive underinvestments in the industry over the years, we are still battling how to overcome this challenge of our time. Yes, we are impacted by climate change, probably more than any other region in the world, and we see climate and sustainable development, in particular energy poverty, as two sides of the same coin. You cannot address one to the exclusion of the other, and we have been in the forefront of this advocacy.
And let's head to the stock market, where after 2 days of downtrend, the market crossed back to positive territory at the close of midweek trading session, regaining more than 71 billion naira in value. Will Ibong tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Equities appear to have gotten their mojo back. It's been a roller coaster ride for the market. Stocks were deep in the red on earnings, but the all-share index closed higher in today's trading session after 2 days of losses and raising the value of the market by about 72 billion naira. The reversal was triggered by market giants in the consumer goods, oil and gas, and some tier 1 banking stocks. However, the banking index closed in the red. Meanwhile, the oil and gas index made a comeback in today's session. Its index rose by 0.11% thanks to gains in O&O. Nestle bolstered the profits in the consumer goods counter. The stock gained 40 naira today, the exact same amount it had lost in yesterday's trading session. Also, shares of Presco rallied in today's session, possibly on the news of expected audited financials and final dividend payout. Given today's market move, would we say the NGX is threading the needle? We'll watch and see. And that's the Stock Market Report. And Willie Bong is back to you.
Thanks a lot, Will. Meanwhile, let's find out how major markets around the world ended Wednesday's session. Business News for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawado. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Millicent.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
And thanks, Anne. Well, news just in has it the Deputy Governor of Kebbi State, Colonel Samalia Yombe Debai, escaped death as armed bandits attacked his convoy, killing an unspecified number of security personnel this evening. The Deputy Governor was on a sympathy visit to some communities attacked by bandits in Dako, Wasagu local government area of the state to assess the structure, logistics of military operatives in the area. Confirming the incident to Channels Television via telephone, Special Advisor to the Kebbi State Deputy Governor on Media, Abdullahi Musa, said the Deputy Governor's convoy was attacked in Kanya village after visiting some communities around the local government. However, sources told Channels Television that about 19 security agents were killed during the attack. And this is coming a day after gunmen killed 63 local vigilante volunteers in the area. Meanwhile, spokesperson to the Kebbi State Police Command, Nafiu Abubakar, has failed to respond after several phone calls were put across to him. Ukraine says a maternity hospital in the southern port city of Mariupol has been hit by a Russian airstrike. President Zelensky says people are trapped under the wreckage and has called on Western leaders to impose a no-fly zone. For more on Russia's invasion of Ukraine and other international news, here's Simon Pusey with Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Russia will soon be unable to pay its debts after increasing sanctions on the country. That's according to a leading credit ratings agency. Fitch Ratings downgraded its view of the country's government debt, warning a default is imminent. The move comes amid increasing international sanctions against Russia, with the US and UK saying they would ban Russian oil as they step up the economic response to the invasion of Ukraine. Meanwhile, the European Union said it will end its reliance on Russian gas. Meanwhile, McDonald's said it was temporarily closing its roughly 850 restaurants in Russia, while Starbucks also said its 100 coffee shops will shut. It comes as countries continue to add economic sanctions to Russia.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Never before has this House listened to an address like the one given yesterday by President Zelensky. And so I want to tell the House that working with our friends and allies across the free world, we will be doing even more in the coming days to protect the people of Ukraine. And, Mr. Speaker, my right honourable friend, the Defence Secretary, will be setting out more details for the House later on.
Convoys of civilians are due to leave several towns near the Ukrainian capital Kyiv, according to a regional leader there. Ukraine says it has agreed a 12-hour ceasefire with Russia for 6 routes in the war zone.
Hello, this is Maria Avdieva from Kharkiv, Ukraine.
Russian shelling has continued with further reports of civilian deaths. 10 people died in Severodonetsk in the east and 5 people were killed in Malin near Kiev.
Bombs, and you can see that the whole area is totally destroyed.
Sumi's governor said a night air raid flattened 6 houses and 3 children were among 22 people killed. And people are not the only ones to be fleeing. Animals are also being transported to safety. Here, bears from Kiev were getting used to their new home in the western city of Lviv after enduring a 24-hour non-stop journey to safety. Staff at the sanctuary fearing what could happen if they escaped. Meanwhile, a Belgian animal shelter has taken in 2 lions that had to be urgently evacuated from Ukraine and should begin a new life after months of maltreatment. Australia's Prime Minister Scott Morrison says he will declare a national emergency over flooding in 2 states. The disaster in New South Wales and Queensland has killed 20 people and inundated thousands of homes in the past 2 weeks after record rains. Federal and state governments have faced anger for not acting faster to help residents. Mr. Morrison's declaration, a national first, will allow federal authorities to intervene more directly. He made the announcement on Wednesday in the town of Lismore, saying it had endured a once-in-a-500-year event.
It has taken everybody, including the community, by surprise. No one expected it to get to those levels. And so what we're dealing with here is an extraordinary event. Australia is becoming a harder country to live in because of these natural disasters.
South Korea's presidential election was too close to call as voting ended. Exit polls showed in a race that will shape Asia's 4th largest economy for the next 5 years. Members from both parties gathered in auditoriums as the results of the exit polls were announced, with supporters of Liberal Lee Jae-myung visibly upbeat. An exit poll showed Lee ahead with 48.4% to Yoon's 47.7%, but another exit poll conducted by 3 television networks showed Yoon slightly ahead. Nearly 34 million, or more than 76% of the country's 44 million eligible voters, cast ballots after a bitter campaign to pick the leader of a nation whose status is rising in the world but is also driven by gender and generational divisions and faces a confrontational North Korea. And finally, scientists have found and filmed one of the greatest ever undiscovered shipwrecks 107 years after it sank. The Endurance, the lost vessel of Antarctic explorer Sir Ernest Shackleton, was found at the weekend at the bottom of the Weddell Sea. The ship was crushed by sea ice and sank in 1915, forcing Shackleton and his men to make an astonishing escape on foot and in small boats. Video of the remains show Endurance to be in a remarkable condition. Experts say even though it has been sitting in 3 kilometres of water for over a century, it looks just like it did on the November day it went down. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Nigeria's under-20 women's football team, the Falconets, have arrived in the Senegalese capital, Dakar, ahead of their 2022 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup final round first leg clash with their Senegalese counterparts this weekend. The 2-time World Cup runners-up have amassed a total of 18 goals in 5 matches in the qualifying series, defeating Central African Republic, the Republic of Congo and Cameroon on the way. Well, the Senegalese girls reached this final qualifying round after edging the Mali under-20 girls on penalty shootout, with both teams tied 1-1 at the end of the 2-legged 4th-round fixture. Meanwhile, the Confederation of African Football has appointed Togolese official Vincentia Amedome as referee for the match. In the Nigeria Women Football League Premiership Match Day, 10 games played across the country this evening. Royal Queens defeated visiting Abia Angels 3-0 at the Warri Township Stadium in Delta State. At the Lafayette City Stadium, Nasarawa Amazons beat Pelican Stars of Calabar by the same scoreline. FC Robo defeated Rivers Angels at the Dikbo Dino Stadium in Ijebu-Ode. Bayelsa Queens and Delta Queens played out a draw in Asaba. Edo Queens defeated host Niger Rattles at the Old Parade Ground, Area 10 in Abuja, to record the only away victory of the day. In Europe, in European football, club football that is, English Premier League side Manchester City and Spanish giants Real Madrid FC have both progressed to the quarter-final stage of the season's UEFA Champions League. Well, Man City played a goalless draw with Portugal's Sporting Lisbon, but they qualified 5-0 on aggregate. In a keenly contested encounter played at the Santiago Bernabeu, Real Madrid fought back from a goal down to beat Ligue 1 champions Paris Saint-Germain, or PSG, 3-1, and thus qualified for the next round 3-2 on aggregate. Karim Benzema getting all 3 goals for the Los Blancos. And Chelsea manager Thomas Tuchel says the impending sale of the club has left a cloud of uncertainty at the English Premier League side, but the squad has stepped up to ensure it doesn't affect performances on the pitch. Roman Abramovich put Chelsea up for sale last week after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which triggered an international backlash against businessmen with close ties to Russian President Vladimir Putin. And that's sports news.
And the main news again. The Senate today threw spanners in the works for the amendment of the Electoral Act 2022 as members rejected the request by the President to remove Section 84, subsection 12 of the law. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night. Stay safe.